Good afternoon. I'm thrilled to be here, and thank you, Lee and Darren, for inviting me to be your speaker today. Yeah, it's really interesting what's going on here in Tampa, right? It's happening here in Ybor, it's happening downtown, it's happening everywhere. And when I came here in 2015, of course, I came from El Paso, Texas, where I was running their art museum for 10 years. And I knew nothing about this area. And they just had put in the last piece of sidewalk on the Riverwalk, and everyone was talking about how exciting that was, because I think that they had planned it 85 times over 110 years, and it was finally done. And which was really exciting because we actually watched downtown Tampa come alive. And I think as a result of the Riverwalk, we're seeing record number of tourist arrivals enjoying the river. And a thought about what Tampa was going to bring should I be considered for the position and be invited to come is there was no commercial real estate development in this plan. And so I thought to myself, this is so interesting. Tampa is really all about health and ecotourism. People come here to walk on the river. This is what people do when they come to Tampa. Only to find out after I was hired that really the city is just in its infancy in building its commercial and residential sector downtown. And we're seeing that all unfold, like right before our eyes. It's shocking to me. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that. But for our museum's history, which is an honor to run an institution that's this mature, we are the oldest cultural asset in Tampa. So we just celebrated our 102nd anniversary. We've had 5 iterations in our lifetime. And we fundamentally were an organization that showed art and taught people how to create art. But the notion of collecting art and being a formal museum didn't happen for us until 1979, when we became part of the city of Tampa as part of its Department of Parks and Recreation. And we enjoyed that relationship with the city until 2007, when we became a nonprofit again and kind of managed our own destiny in partnership with the city of Tampa, because our building now and the land on which we sit is still owned by the city. So we have a relationship that continues to this day, but we are a private 501c3 nonprofit, privately owned and operated. I have a board that's actually 2 boards that are pretty big, a 40-member board of governors, and then a board of directors that help manage our endowment and the investments of those endowments, and look to sustainability for the future for the museum. We have a little over 8,000 works in our permanent collection. Interestingly, a early focus on collecting ancient Greek and Roman art led us to having one of the most extraordinary and robust collections of ancient Greek, Roman, and Etruscan art in all of the southeastern states of the United States, totaling close to 700 works. From about 1000 BC all the way to the 4th century AD. And then we jumped to modern art, 19th century forward, with a focus on the advent of modernism out of Europe, and then contemporary works to present day with no geographic distinction. But really, I think that our greatest growth since my arrival has been our dedication to education. So from seeing about 1,100 to 1,200 students a year with a small tour program through the relationship with the school district, we served 14,000 students in the last 12 months. And that number will double in the next 16 months to almost 30,000 students due to a really generous grant from the Department of Education out of Washington, D.C. to reach 15,000 students in 48 underperforming Title I schools in Hillsborough County. And this is really our strength, and what we're trying to accomplish is to make sure that those critical thinking skills and that self-evaluative process is not absent in the education that they receive in school, and we do that through art. We do it through teaching art, and we do it through helping people understand how to interpret art. I'm really excited about this program, and it's robust, but as we look to the future and this expansion that Darren mentioned, we're looking at maybe around 60,000 students a year. So when you think about what we just accomplished last year, we're serving more students than the University of Tampa. So we are a formal learning institution. It's not a side note, it's a very important part of what we are accomplishing for the community. When people think about art museums, and I think when you all might think about art museums, if you're not regular museum goers, you might think about what you do on vacation, right? And so when people think of art museums, they think of tourism. But only 35% of our visitorship are tourists, and that means 65% are residents in the immediate area, Hillsborough County. That means that we are a 365-day-a-year proposition. In fact, 363 because we're only closed 2 days a year. We're open 7 days a week. And that means that most of our program opportunities lie in education, from the exhibition content, which we sometimes think of something very different when we think of exhibitions of art as being something different than education, but every work of art that's on view is a learning opportunity for the community to embrace and understand other cultures and thinking and ways that artists interpret the life around them and share that back with you. Our focus really is on education, and as a result of that, we fit very directly in the notion of business and industry. So we are providing this extraordinary service. Our budget is about $5.5 million a year. And all of that money is raised every year, year after year, and all that money, for the most part, comes right back into the community. We are part of the business community and the workforce development. I have 55 people that work at the institution. I would say that 70% of them do not have formal art education backgrounds. I have an accounting department, I have marketing and communications, I have safety and security. And we are bringing these people in from outside the area or hiring from within the community, and they're part of our workforce development. And we're sending them back out, or we're stealing from you. So we're part of the same engine of workforce development. Why is that important? Because I think when people think of art institutions, they think of something very fringe, that it's on the outside of the business community. But we really are so much a part of the economic engine of a community, just as Ybor is. So when you're looking at Tampa's projects opening up and the Crest Galleries and this new art space on the horizon, what I'm telling you as the Ybor Chamber today is culture is going to drive your capital. Capital is not going to drive the development of culture. You bring culture to your community and people will want to live around it, they'll want to be around it, they're going to want to eat near it. It's going to be the keystone to your economic development engine. Look at what's happening in North Downtown, all right? So this is our extension, our 50,000 square foot expansion on the north side of our museum on the Poe parking garage side. That's nestled right across the street from the Strass Center waterfront, which is also in a major campaign to develop retail and commercial opportunities, restaurant and outdoor arts, just like we are, right on the river. Tampa Theater is in the process of a capital campaign. So is the aquarium, so is the zoo. I mean, we are all very mindful that we need to be able to meet the needs of 40,000 new arrivals as residents to this community as a whole. But what's missing, the missing piece for downtown was the residential. So our skyline has been financial district since the downtown was fundamentally developed. When we think about that in comparison, for example, to St. Petersburg, you think their skyline is all condominium and residential, right? And that their development of commercial was part and parcel of that because people live and eat and work in the same, or eat in where they live. Our downtown didn't have the residential, but look at what's happening. AER Tower, the Artist and Residency Tower apartment complex, just capped out, right? This will be open and operational in less than 2 years, 334 units. Madera Tampa apartment complex, they're still leasing, but they're almost full, and they are up and operating. The Henry has been book solid for 2 years, 26-story. One Tampa Tower is coming out of the ground right now, 42-story condo unit. Kohler United, I think, made the announcement that they were $200 million towards full residency occupancy, and I think, didn't they just announce they're fully occupied now? That's coming out of the ground. The Pendry, I think, is dealing with some utility issues, but they are going to come out of the ground, and I think they're 45% 85% occupied already. Is that correct? Yeah. And then right across the street, George Perez's related group is doing 1.1 thousand units, right? That's affordable housing right across the street. Furman Center for the Arts just opened a new art center on their campus. When we talk about economic development in the area that we working in, we often think about Channelside and Water Street, right? Because of this extraordinary $3.5 billion advancement. But really within a 2-block radius and 3-block radius of the Art Museum, downtown Tampa, North downtown Tampa is absolutely exploding. And they're coming here because we're already here, all right? So this is part of our economic development story. We are all part of that same engine. And we know art hubs are indeed associated with strong economies. There's no question about that. Our political elected officials know it, and we know it in the business community. Even the Economic Development Council registers this in selling this area as a strong and important part of the economy. So I want to pause for a minute and share with you that one of the reasons why this is such an important concept, and I think Darren just reflected on this because you just replaced your lights with CRA funds. In the downtown redevelopment area, the CRA fund was started in '83. They updated the plan in '88 to include funding of cultural assets. Why? Because they know culture brings capital. In 2008, they helped us with our conceptual design plan for the building that we're in now. How are they affording to be able to do all of this? In 10 years since we've been down there, commercial real estate value has increased by 163%. Residential values have increased by 241%. And these numbers are from 2022, aren't they? They're not even this year's number, 2021 maybe, 2020. So this is going to continue to grow, and it's going to happen for you all too. You watch, it's going to happen. It's exciting. Even Bob Buckhorn, who was not a great cheerleader for arts and culture, but understood what it means to have a robust arts and culture landscape, understands that it's part of a strong economic engine. So, what are we doing? All right. So, our museum front yard is Curtis Hickson Park, and we're right on the river. The goal of the strategic plan was to expand the education facilities, grow the exhibition spaces. So we did a space analysis, and we found 25,000 gross square feet within the walls of our existing museum to realign for public programming space. And when I tell you how important that is like 25% the cost to redesign space that it is to build out of the ground. So on an affordability, to bring on 25,000 square feet of additional space for $15 million was worth every penny that took place. The things that we couldn't really address in this business plan was operating income. So we receive money from a lot of different places, public funds, private funds, but our philanthropy is almost at 69% of my entire budget. And as my budget continues to grow, 69% of that budget cannot just be about philanthropy. The 69% of 5 million is different than 69% of 10 million. And it's a very risky business model. We have to be able to afford to have operating income. And in my business model, that's food and beverage and rental of space, as well as gate sales. All right, so we knew that that expansion had to address this kind of lopsidedness to our revenue streams. So we took that into consideration in the expansion, and we also wanted to make sure that our visitor experience was enhanced, because for all of you that know, when you drive downtown, we're a destination location. People aren't pushing their baby strollers through Curtis Hickson Park and saying, oh, let's go see an art museum exhibit and divert themselves for 2 hours. They're driving. They're parking at Poe Parking Garage, or where they can find flat street parking, and they're coming into our museum on the north side, which has no architectural articulation. Even if you can find parking, which is extremely frustrating to find it, you get out of the garage and you're not exactly sure where the museum is or how to get in it. And then you get into the museum and there was no artwork on the first floor. So the whole thing was very confusing and wasn't addressed in the construction of this. We wanted to take that into consideration with this expansion and address that major issue. And then really, as we're looking at this, make sure that this is a transformational opportunity for the museum, but more importantly for the city. We want people to come to this city and have this remarkable art museum experience as they would find in other metropolitan areas our size. So where are we with this project? This is a $110 million expansion project with the renovation included. This slide is a little off because we're now at 76.5 towards construction and another 6 million towards endowment. We have got about 30 million more to go to finish this project. But that's an extraordinary number, right? And I will tell you, 85% of this money is from individuals and private donations. 85%. This is not a government project. And thank God it's not, because they would never sustain it, right? They might have a little funds here and there, but they're not going to be here every single year. It's you. You're going to make an investment in this project, and I hope every one of you will, and then you'll want to continue to invest in it. It'll be yours. It's your investment in your community. All right, so what were the results? This extraordinary Vinik Family Education Center, 8,000 square feet of additional space on the ground floor, transparent and operational in the evenings, but lit all the way to midnight so people know what we're doing in here at all times. What does that mean for us? We went from just our summer camps at 112 registrants for camps and classes to 420, all right, overnight. And we had the exact same numbers this year. It's been operating two years now, from 17 camps to 38 camps. We're teaching classes year-round now, not just over the summer months, because we have 3 classrooms and a full education exhibition lobby from 1 classroom. Our family days, which we do 4 times a day, went from 400 attendees to almost 1,500 overnight. Right? Why? Because we had the space. So you all know, I just mentioned to you about our the content for our exhibitions. So we focus on ancient Greek and Roman, but we're also bringing in exhibitions of works that are iconic. So in this exhibition that we're opening in late September, I call it All the Usual Suspects will be on view. This extraordinary Impressionist exhibition is coming in from Worcester, Mass. It's not an opportunity that we can do all the time. The show costs $350,000. These are not inexpensive programs. It's being sponsored by community support, but it's here for you. And we want you to take advantage of it, and we want people to see a Monet water lily when they can't afford to get on a plane and drive to the nearest location where one exists. So these are opportunities that we have, from contemporary to modern and to ancient art. Well, how did we do with our galleries on the renovation? We went from 14,500 square feet to 32,000 square feet. What did that equate to? We went from 6 galleries to 11, and from approximately 8 exhibitions a year to 14. It makes a huge difference. When people walk out of our museum now, I'm hearing them say, God, I wish our museum was this big. When I got here, it was like, does this museum not understand how to show more art? All right, so this was huge on a marketing level for us and on a feel-good and what we can accomplish in the community. All right, so what's next? So the existing west lobby, the riverfront lobby, will be expanded by a 5,000 square foot lobby with indoor-outdoor dining that will be open 7 days a week. It'll carry a 2-story second floor with digital exhibitions that's flexible for a 500 seated catered dinner. That will also hold up to 800 people for any guest speaker that comes by. So for conventioneers, for guest opportunities, for educational programming, that's a multi-purpose space. And then a 4th floor opportunity for special events, but also a culinary kitchen where we're going to expand our art education mission to teach about creating food as art. I'm excited about all of this. Let me show you what it looks like, at least in site redevelopment. When we were put in Curtis Hickson Park, there was no urban integration and there was no development on the north side. So we're surrounded by urban blight on one side and a sloping hill with no functionality for the park itself. We're taking care of all of that in this redesign. We're bringing the park all the way to Cass Street. We're creating a new entrance facade on the north side. So it'll attach to Poe Parking Garage. You're looking at the side of the museum that will have the expansion. So a brand new 40-foot deep entry plaza connected on the 4th and 5th floors of Poe Parking Garage, where you can take an elevator down, not traverse the railroad tracks, and come out under, I know, I can't do anything, you know, they're more powerful than God, the railroad. But we can at least get them over to our side of the tracks and undercover, right, out of the rain, if that's the choice. But it'll be a public elevator, so you can decide whether you want to go to the park. You know, you don't have to come to the museum. It's a public amenity we're creating. So this is what it'll feel like to come in on that north side now, a really intentional main entrance to the museum. So this is our existing reception desk that'll open up into a brand new reception hall. You'll still have these extraordinary views of the river on the west side, a lounge area to pause, indoor-outdoor dining, a bar on the first floor, and this monumental staircase that will lead to a mezzanine level at either the first floor or mezzanine to an auditorium that will sit 150, with a generous stage that will allow small performing arts augmentation to the visual art programming, and will allow us to expand our education exhibition programming to film, right? Which is such an important thing that's missing right now, because we don't have a formal gallery dedicated to film, although we will with soon enough on full immersion programs starting next spring. This is a game changer because it also allows us to do formal education program delivery in the form of art history, but also embrace with Hillsborough Community College, University of Tampa, USF to hold classes, has special functions for corporations that are in here, formal program development. So again, you can get up to this area through the mezzanine level. It'll have a pre-function space for the auditorium, but you'll still be part of this extraordinary experience of views that are happening all the way around. And we'll be that much closer to the river and less tucked away behind the garage. But the iconic nature of this expansion is extraordinary, right? As everything going up around us is vertical, this will be an arm of culture that reaches out to people that are along the Riverwalk. So this sit-down dining experience, special event space, when it's not being rented, will have a 40-foot long, 32-foot high digital wall, which doesn't need to be darkened in the room to have that experience of digital exhibition experience, right? So this is what's happening right now at MoMA. So to give you an idea of what we can do, and let me tell you, there are thousands and thousands of video artists out there. This artist is from Turkey, Refik Anadol. He works with AI a little bit, but his stuff is pretty extraordinary and is globally just taking off. We're going to be able to do that. And these programs are bringing in 250,000 visitors a year, right? They are destination locations in and of themselves. When it's not being used for, let's say, a large lecture area, flat form lecture, that would do 700 to 800, a sit-down dinner for 500, 32-foot high glass walls with some of the most extraordinary views of Tampa to really show us off. I mean, it's a game changer, guys. This is a game changer for this entire area. It meets the part of our strategic plan, transformational for our community and for the museum. So what does that mean on a financial level, and why is that operating income so important? So right now, we gross about $780,000 a year in rentals, food and beverage commission. Why so small? Because we cater everything. We don't have a kitchen in our museum, right? Having 3 kitchens in our expansion will change that, and also quadrupling, actually tripling our event space will change that. We're now looking at a business model of $10 million gross income, right? For us, that's a 25% takeaway, $2.5 million to help us operate our facility. We're not interested in going into the restaurant business, we'll be jobbing it out. But that's a very, very important part of the financial business model for success for us. 500 people a day is what we're looking at for 360 days a year for rentals. We believe this facility will be rented every single day of the year. Right now, it's rented 120 days a year without it. That's how busy we are with events. My staffing will go up to 100 people. Right now we're at 55. The construction jobs alone will go into the 250 for 24 months. It's a 2-year build-out project. And our budget changed since 2015, 2.5, we're at 5.6. At full capacity and full impact, we'll be close to 10 million. So this is our journey. We're halfway there. 30 more million to go. If we can do 80, if we can do 85, we can do 110. And we need everybody to be part of that. And so I will say, with all sincerity, we want everyone to be involved. And you can be a part of it in a small way or a large way. Of course, we want you to be part of it in a large way. But we are not just getting started. We are really more than halfway there. Thank you for listening.